Hi, my name is Anayra Calderon, and I am joining you today from Saudi Arabia. I am from Jersey City, New Jersey, and I am an educator. I worked in Jersey City, New Jersey in the high school level for 11 years, and now I am a teacher here in Saudi Arabia. I I am speaking to you today with the hopes that we can persuade you to understand that there needs to be reform in gun control in the United States. In the 3 years that I've been living here in Saudi Arabia, I've seen many mass shootings occurring in the United States. The last two occurring just recently in Buffalo and in Uvalde, Texas. And it's really sad to see this happening in my homeland, and also seeing it happen from outside of the US gives a different perspective and how the rest of the world sees the US and just doesn't understand how, since our first big mass shooting in Columbine, this is still happening so many years later, and there has been no reform. There have been no changes in the laws. There has been nothing done to minimize people being able to access guns the way that they can in the United States. When mass shootings took place in Australia, in the UK, in Ireland, they passed gun reform laws, and the average person cannot just walk in and buy a gun in a store, especially when they're a minor, that can't even buy alcohol like they can in the US. Assault weapons should not be available to private citizens. Nobody should need an assault weapon for hunting. If you need an assault rifle to hunt deer, then you're probably not a very good shoot to begin with. There should Some of the things that need to happen immediately are more restrictions in terms of background checks, psychological checks, waiting period, so that someone cannot just walk into a store and walk out with a gun and ammunition. There should be a check on what kind of ammunition someone's buying. No one needs to have hundreds of rounds of ammunition in their possession as like for a personal gun or any kind of other weapon they're having. The minimum age to buy a gun should be 21 years. And the excuse that, or the answer and solution that teachers should be armed is it's ridiculous. As a teacher, I don't want to carry a firearm. That's not the kind of job that I signed up for. If I was interested in carrying a firearm, I might have gone into the military or into the police force or into some kind of security. But I went to school to become an educator, not to think that I need to carry a gun or have a gun in my classroom. When the Sandy Hook shooting took place in 2012, it really hit close to home. I was teaching in the inner city in Jersey City, New Jersey, and I questioned whether, as a teacher, I would be willing to put my body between a shooter and a student. And I honestly don't know if I could do that. I also don't know if I would have the reaction time and wouldn't want the responsibility of having to save my students because I can have an arm in my classroom. And then it also just makes me think, regular people kill people. What is to say that an armed teacher is not the person that's going to have the mass shooting, who's going to be the shooter? It's just, as an educator, the solution that's being proposed, that we arm educators, is really baffling. To become an educator, you need at least 4 years of college. The new laws that were just passed in Ohio could provide training in 24 hours. I don't think that in 24 hours I would be trained to carry a gun, be able to shoot and have a clear target and hit a target and think quickly enough on my feet so that I could prevent a mass shooter from coming in and killing me and my students. Watching the testimony of the teacher that was in the adjoining classroom in Uvalde who didn't die but watched his entire classroom full of kids be shot and killed is something that I would never want to live with. And he said that he would never teach again. Just seeing his testimony and seeing that happen, I don't know if I worked in that school, would I ever go back? So, the response of arming teachers is not a solution. A solution is passing adequate gun control laws, reforming how people can get weapons. The average citizen should not have access to military grade assault weapons, and there needs to be background checks, psychological checks, and no one should be able to walk into a store or a gun show and walk out with a gun. Anybody can have a day where they think that they don't care, and if they have easy access to these weapons, it could be very detrimental to many people. If access is made more difficult, the ability for mass shootings to happen would be lessened. And I think that the way to do that is to start now by reforming gun laws and creating blocks for people to have easy access, just like other countries like Australia and the UK and Ireland have done when they were faced with the same condition. The United States is the only place in the entire world where this is happening. And you see a lot of people excuse it and say it's a mental health issue. Well, the United States and other countries of similar size have the same type of mental health issues, and the problems that we see in the United States with mass shooting do not occur in these other countries. So if it's because of mental health, why isn't it happening elsewhere? And the reason it's not happening elsewhere is because those countries have gun control laws, and the average person cannot just walk into a store and buy an assault rifle and be able to buy ammunition to take out a small city. So while there are mental health issues that are taking place in the United States, those same mental issues are taking place all over the world. And the difference is that in the rest of the world, the government has understood that it is their responsibility to keep dangerous assault weapons and artillery out of the average person's hands. And I hope that the United States can follow, because following what's going on in my home country is very sad when you can see things like mass shootings going on so often. Thank you for your time.